Hi, Jessa.
Hi. Hi, sorry, I've been doing too many things.
No worries at all. Though it is telling me that I'm not able to start my video because the host has stopped it.
We won't need your video because we're just doing the screen share. We're not actually having your video on the,
Got it, got it, got it. Okay, sounds good.
so that's no worries at all. But we can
Okay,
we can hear you. Keep talking for a sec. I want to make sure it's showing up in the stream.
okay. Testing
Yep,
one,
good.
two.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay.
And
So
we'll
I
just
can,
keep talking at a minimum because we are now streaming live on YouTube. So we'll just
beautiful.
wait. I can't delay it until a little bit later. So we'll just not talk for the moment.
Not a problem.
All right. And I'm going to go finish what I need to. But we'll start in a few minutes.
Okay, sounds good.
Right. Welcome everyone who's joining us at the present moment for our general information session on Together There. We're just getting a few technical pieces together in time for the live stream. We'll be starting roughly about 6:05 p.m. So in about 7 minutes. Hopefully you can hear me and we'll start soon. Thanks for your patience. Hiya, salut, anin, atalahai. The live stream will start in approximately 5 minutes. If you haven't already done so, we invite you to grab a warm cup of tea, a snack, a blanket, or some other form of sustenance that will help you remain energized and comfortable throughout tonight's session. At any point during the presentation, feel free to share any comments or questions you may have via chat. We'll make sure all of your questions are answered before the live stream is finished. Please note, there is just one person managing the stream tonight, so try to be patient as we keep up with all your comments and questions in both Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube. Unfortunately, we will not be able to provide substantial technical support during the live stream, so hopefully everything will go smoothly for us all. A recording of tonight's session will be available afterwards in case you miss anything. On screen, our greetings are displayed in large colored fonts on a light gray background: blue for English, purple for French, green for Anishinaabewin, and black for Inuktitut. In the center is a large yellow-filled circle with a white outer stroke, somewhat akin to a sun. There are 3 information sessions planned for Together There in the upcoming week, including this evening on October 5th, as well as October 12th and 13th, 2022. They each take place between 6 and 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll be sharing different information at each session, so feel free to check them out. The links are available at togetherthere.ca. October 5th is open to everyone via Zoom, YouTube, and Facebook Live. October 12th is open to deaf and other disabled people via Zoom only. October 13th is open to Indigenous, Black, and other racialized people of color via Zoom, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Archival video will be made available afterwards on ArtsPond's Facebook and YouTube channels for the October 5th and 13th sessions only. Alrighty, good people. Let us begin our general information session on Together There, a creative thought residency on digital justice in arts and culture. In this session, we will talk about the story of Together There and what we are looking for in response to our current call for visionaries. The call is due on October 17th, 2022 for general audiences and October 24th, 2022 for deaf and other people with disabilities. On screen is the title slide for this presentation. It includes the logo of Together There, which consists of a circle segmented into 4 sections with green, purple, blue, and dark orange backgrounds. Each section has a single white icon inside of it. The icons resemble simple stick figures or markers on a map, if they resemble anything at all. My name is Jessa Aguilo. I'm the founder of Together There and ArtsPond, which is incubating this effort. Tonight I'm also joined by Sonia Khan, who is the knowledge lead of Together There. Together There would not have been possible without the very generous support of Canada Council for the Arts Digital Strategy Fund. I'd also like to acknowledge the support of the Government of Canada and City of Toronto, who have funded some of our other activities. We're open to hearing from you anytime if you have thoughts about what you would like to see from our organization in the future, or if you have questions about Together There and how you might be involved, please feel free to reach out to us at jessa@artspond.com or sonia@artspond.com. A visual description of this slide includes a circle on the left side with my photograph inside it, and another with Sonia's on the right. I'm a white transgender woman with a shaved head. In this image, I'm wearing blue textured glasses with a black top on a very light yellowish-green background. Sonia has long dark brown hair with white highlights in their image. They are wearing a white blouse filled with free-flowing lines and shapes in dark brown, plus golden bronze earrings and a fine chain-link necklace. Behind and in between us is a visual graphic of 3 overlapping gray lines with different thicknesses. They resemble sound waves or ripples on water. In between these ripples are circles filled with yellowish green, purple, and blue. The circles are of different sizes, with the largest yellow-green circle placed at the top, somewhat akin to a rising sun. Before proceeding, it is essential I acknowledge that here at Artspond we live, work, meet, and travel on the traditional territories of Indigenous peoples that have cared for this land now called Canada since time immemorial. Specifically, we reside on Treaty 13, or Tikaronto, which are the traditional territories of the Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas of the Credit, a part of the Dish with One Spoon territory shared peacefully among Anishinaabeg, Haudenosaunee, and allied nations who bound themselves to care for the resources around the Great Lakes. On the left side of this slide that holds our acknowledgement, there is an image with a blue curving line moving from the top to the bottom. Above, below, and on either side of this line, there are a sprinkling of circles and squares that are filled or stroked with different colors, including green, purple, orange, blue, and gray. The agenda for tonight includes 5 elements. 1. Who are we? A grounding in the ecology of the pond, as we affectionately call ourselves. 2. What are we doing? What do we mean by digital justice, and how have we created an entire residency focused on it for Together There? 3. How will you benefit from participating, and how will you be cared for both during and after the residency? Here we'll go into lots of detail about the types of support, journeys, and outcomes we anticipate participants will share as a result of the residency. 4. What are we looking for? Here we'll talk about some of the specifics of the call for visionaries to help you decide if the residency is a good fit for you. And finally, 5. We will end with a Q&A period where we will address any questions you have shared via chat. Part 1. Who are we? For those of you who may not be that familiar, I would like to take a few moments to ground you in the ecology that is the pond. Outwardly, Artspond may appear as a different kind of ASO, or Arts Service, Arts Support organization. Inwardly, we do not relate with either these terms, support or service, that strongly. They feel somewhat inadequate as descriptors of what we do. Their accountabilities just aren't quite weighty enough. Instead of support or service, the symbiotic trio of caregiver, caretaker, and change maker feels closer to who we are. Now in our 9th year, our ever-evolving mandate is to nurture healthy ecosystems in real, virtual, and natural life through the vital creativity and care of arts and culture. Our vision is to embody a world where arts workers from the margins are valued each and supported all for their ingenuity as positive deviants that both challenge and bind our communities together. We help do so by fostering cooperative actions that fuse the values and wisdom of social innovation and the community-engaged arts. A visual description of the graphic on this slide features a very light gray background with 3 flowing lines of slightly different thicknesses and shades of gray. 2 of the lines move like water from the left to the right, while the third, a fishing line, drops to the bottom after interacting with the other 2. Each of the lines navigates several different sized twists or curlicues, turning back in on themselves before moving on again. These twists are filled with different colors, including white, blue, green, orange, and purple. They evoke, perhaps, strings of colored lights or little underwater creatures glowing with cheerful luminescence. There are 3 larger circles placed above and in between these lines in a V shape that are filled with solid colors, including purple, yellow, green, and blue. Part 2. What are we doing? Let's begin with the question, what is Together There? Together There is a national creative thought residency and international exchange with a mandate to help seed a just and caring digital ecosystem, all led with, by, and for equity-seeking groups in Canadian arts and culture. Let's talk now about what we mean exactly by some of these concepts, starting with the question, what is a creative thought residency? A creative thought residency is not entirely like other residencies in arts and culture. Like other residencies, Together There invites a diverse group of participants to come together and investigate new inspirations over an extended period of time. However, perhaps unlike other residencies, Together There's Creative Thought Residency is imagined both as an intimate journey of self-discovery as well as an intentional study group and an immersive co-creation lab. Here, participants are encouraged to explore topics of interest both individually, collectively with other participants, and with the support of the residency care team and external mentors. Additionally, it is not the creation of a completed work that is the driving focus, but rather documenting and reflecting on how new or deepened insights might be incorporated into your work in the future. We are just as interested in how your perspectives evolve over the course of the residency and what helped or hindered you along the way as we are in where you end up. Also, Together There intentionally invites a wide array of participants to explore visions of a positive future via one of 3 lenses, including art making, sense making, and experimenting. These lenses invite participants to share their journeys through many possible modes of expression, including written, verbal, imagistic, experiential, analog, digital, and more. Artists, curators, educators, managers, and others will all be brought together to learn from each other and explore ways to strengthen cross-movement solidarity and allyship in the industry. At all times, we assume the wisdom and creativity of voices at the edges hold the essential keys we need to realize a more inclusive, equitable, and accessible future. Ultimately, Together There's Creative Thought Residency seeks to help ideate and share personal and collective pathways to a just digital future. But what do we mean by this term, digital justice? Let's address this question next. Digital justice is an emergent topic pretty much everywhere, not only in arts and culture. While it defies simple definition, there are 3 points of view that may help provide some context for further discussion. The first is that digital justice is a call to amplify the positive impacts and eliminate or mitigate the harms of digital technologies and infrastructure on our lives, communities, and the planet. Secondly, digital justice is a call to foster pathways that strengthen ecosystems, both in the real, virtual, and natural world, that are sustainable, inclusive, and accessible. And finally, digital justice is a call to bolster solidarity and allyship with other social justice movements in and through the digital world. Over the past few years, quite a few topics have emerged under the realm of digital justice. These include 1. Labor protections for gig economy workers. 2. Equitable delivery of digital infrastructure, including affordable, high-speed internet access, especially in rural and remote communities. 3. Protections from surveillance capitalism, such as the tracking of personal information across online platforms through smart cities and Internet of Things. 4. Environmental protections from e-waste, blockchain mining, or the loss of land and water used to cool massive server farms for the live streaming of videos. 5. Ethics of artificial intelligence and safety from abuse in the metaverse. 6. Open and accountable digital governance and a feminist internet. 7. Consentful design and technologies. 8. Autonomy from the planned obsolescence of digital software and hardware. 9. Rights to own and financially benefit from the dissemination of cultural content and intellectual property online. And finally, 10. Indigenous data sovereignty and much, much more. Next, I would like to address the question, what are the stages of the residency? The first stage of 3, from November 7th to December 12th, 2022, will focus on getting to know fellow residents and exploring initial curiosities around digital justice from an individual and a group perspective. In Stage 2, from December 13th, 2022 to January 8th, 2023, participants will take the holiday season to sit with what they are learning and prioritize the topics and modes of expression they will explore more deeply in the new year. The third and final stage, from January 9th to February 24th, 2023, will culminate in the publication of all our individual and group journeys together in a shared digital hive as a conclusion to the residency. After the residency, an international exchange in spring and summer 2023 will add to this hive other diverse perspectives on digital justice from around the world. This will serve as an inspiring conclusion to the overall Together There project as we seek to secure additional funding for the future. What is the anticipated time commitment required for the residency? The average is 5 hours per week for 16 weeks, to a total of 80 hours minimum. 56% of this time, or 45 hours, is dedicated towards self-directed learning and experimentation. The remaining 44%, or 35 hours, is devoted to all-team meetings, one-on-one check-ins with the residency support team, creative labs on special topics with other residents, and mentorships with industry experts. Self-directed learning, all team convenings, and one-on-one check-ins with the residency support team are all required. The creative labs on special topics and one-on-one mentorships with industry experts are recommended, but ultimately optional. Our next question is, what is the personal project? Each resident will focus on a personal project throughout the residency. While you may, it is not necessary to produce a completed work as a part of the residency. Residents, however, will be required to document and share their journeys through a creative means of their choice. As stated earlier, it is this journey we are most interested in, including reflections on how your perspectives have grown, evolved, or changed over the course of the residency, and what helped or hindered you on your path. From this point of view, the residency will be best suited to the exploration of new ideas rather than completing work that is already in progress. For example, at the start of the residency, you might think of digital justice primarily as a place of harm. You might note in your journal, I thought digital justice meant the fight for affordable, high-speed internet. I felt powerless to do anything about it. By the end of the residency, you may have a new perspective on digital justice as a space of help and care. You might think, I'm ready and feel empowered to make artwork about and collaborate with others on a wide range of digital justice topics. For this example, we are most intrigued by documenting inspiring moments and missteps that guided us from a place of harm to help or care. This may involve creative journal writing, sketching, excerpting of new work in progress, collecting ephemera or other inspiring resources, mind mapping, writing proposals, plans, blogs, white papers, collecting annotated bibliographies, designing curatorial frameworks, storytelling, and more. Part 3. How will you benefit and be cared for? The next question I would like to address is, how will you benefit from participating in the residency? First of all, we are eager to help you make the residency your own. In engaging and supportive environments, you will have the opportunity to deepen your understandings of the ways digital both helps and harms the health and well-being of our lives, communities, and the planet. You will strengthen your familiarity with digital tools that have the potential to cultivate new and deeper forms of wisdom, creativity, connection, and care. Through creative experimentation, you will be able to better identify whether and how digital issues might be incorporated into your career in the future, and to document and share your learnings with other residents and the public. This may help you then inspire others to engage more deeply with digital justice movements and to set yourself up as a leading voice on visioning a just digital future in arts and culture. There will be many opportunities to expand your networks and collaborate with other diverse voices from across Canada. There are also opportunities to share your knowledge and pass a torch to the broader community through international exchanges and other activities that will follow the residency in spring and summer 2023. In the future, we hope to secure additional funding to be able to commission the creation of completed works on digital justice topics that are inspired by the knowledge and insights gained during this residency. Overall, we hope the legacy of the residency will be to help each participant and our communities begin to shift away from a space of great uncertainty around digital issues and towards greater confidence, safety, and trust that a caring and just digital future can be realized. Just give me a moment to continue 1 second. Our next question is, how will you be cared for during and even potentially after the residency? As we strive to bolster the digital futures we hope to inhabit, our commitment is to make the residency experience a welcoming and accessible space for all, regardless of personal circumstances, experiences, or backgrounds. We acknowledge, first of all, that care is communal. We commit to co-designing a mutually agreed upon set of values and principles for access and care that we will continue to develop together with all participants over the course of the residency. We also appreciate that access is an open and ever-evolving conversation. We're committed to responding meaningfully to access needs of all participants with care and consideration, both as they are in the present moment and over time. By default, all residency communications will take place virtually in English. However, upon request, we'll be able to offer live CART and ASL interpretation between meetings and during meetings, as well as English to French translation of key meeting notes. Other forms of multimodal communications supported by the residency include the availability of written, audio, graphic, and video-based notes and recordings, plain language summaries, visual and audio descriptions, and more on request. While the residency communications are digital first, this is not meant to imply they are digital only. This is part of our essential commitment to support those who may not be able to reliably access digital tools online. All residents will receive a $4,500 fee for their participation in the residency. Residents may also access a $1,000 supplies and materials budget, which they can use to access digital tools such as increased internet access or increased bandwidth to help them fully participate in the residency. The materials budget can also be used to help them document their residency journey over time. On a case-by-case basis, other access accommodations may include the availability of support workers, access doulas, flexibility in the timing of fees and terms, and other types of care. In terms of warranties, our wish is to support and share your journeys. You own your residency materials that you create. We have a fairly large team for Together There. You can learn all about us at togetherthere.ca/people. You can reach out to the curatorial team at residency@togetherthere.ca or the access and care team at care@togetherthere.ca. Other members of our team include the knowledge and working leads who provide overall strategic. Our next question is, how will you be cared? Sorry, apologies, some technical challenges there. So just repeating, other members of our team include the knowledge and working leads who provide overall strategic, tactical, and administrative support for the project and steward all the stories and insights gained from your participation in the residency. Working leads can be reached at knowledge@togetherthere.ca. Myself and our knowledge lead, Sonia Khan, can be reached at leads@togetherthere.ca. Next, I would like to invite our knowledge lead, Sonia, to share some of our thinking about guiding principles for knowledge stewardship during the residency. Before I do so, I just need to make a technical switch, so just hang on a moment. Before I do so, I just need to make a technical switch, so just hang on a moment. Before I do so, I just need to make a technical switch, so just hang on. Before I do so, to make a technical switch, so just hang on. Before I do so, to make a technical switch, so just hang on. Before I do so, to make a technical switch, so just hang on. Before I do so, to make a technical switch, so just hang on. All right, I'm sorry about that feedback loop. I'm not sure what's happening there, but Sonia, at the screen. All right, I'm sorry about that feedback loop. I'm not sure what's happening there, but Sonia, at the screen. All right, I'm sorry about that feedback loop. I'm not sure what's happening there, but Sonia, at
Yes.
the screen. All right, I'm sorry about that feedback loop.
Jessa, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, but I'm getting a
I'm
very
not
strange
able to
feedback
hear
loop.
anything.
My voice is being heard 3 or 4 times in repetition. I hear you just fine. is being heard 3 or 4 times in repetition. I hear you just fine. Is
Okay,
being heard 3 or 4 times in repetition. I hear you just fine.
okay, I'm going to go ahead.
3 or 4 times in repetition. Fine.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead.
3 or 4 times in repetition. Fine.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead. Alrighty, I'm also hearing this feedback loop. So perhaps, Jessa, if in the chat, you can just let me know if the feedback loop is still being heard, because I think what's going on is the Facebook Live is open at the same time as the Zoom link is. So I don't know if it's on my end or just in general. Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to go ahead. So what our guiding principles for knowledge stewardship? Knowledge stewardship can be understood as the interconnected process of mindfully seeking, caring for, and disseminating knowledge. As knowledge stewards within the context of Together There, we recognize that knowledge is a central, critical, and strategic tool for both understanding and critically examining digital realities as we're experiencing them in order to envision and eventually catalyze transformational change. The knowledge we're hoping to generate and share through this residency has the potential to meaningfully impact communities throughout Canada, especially equity-seeking communities who've been disproportionately negatively impacted by digital technologies and infrastructure. For the knowledge that we steward to have a positive, meaningful, and lasting impact on the world, we want to approach this responsibility with care, intention, and attentiveness. This is why we have 3 guiding principles for knowledge stewardship that encompass the foundational principles we hope to abide by and integrate into our knowledge stewardship process. In this residency, we endeavor to steward knowledge that is human-centered, mindful, ethical, and conscious, and intersectional. A human-centered approach to knowledge stewardship prioritizes the multiplicity of human beings and diverse communities, including their lived experiences, their embodied wisdoms, their pain points, and their collective dreams, amongst others. By centering and therefore empowering the diverse perspectives, needs, values, and goals of communities who may be impacted by knowledge outcomes, we are able to meaningfully co-create, co-vision, and co-build the just futures we seek to inhabit. Knowledge stewardship in this sense is a deeply integrative, explorative, creative, and imaginative process that is grounded in accountability, reflexivity, care, and accessibility. For collaborative knowledge stewardship processes to positively impact communities and catalyze meaningful collective action, it is therefore our responsibility as knowledge stewards to ensure that research creative processes are mindful, ethical, and conscious. Self and collective reflexivity is the foundational principle from which everything else generates from. Self-reflexivity is, in essence, the process of self-inquiring on our intentions, roles, and responsibilities as knowledge stewards in order to reduce any harms or risks associated with knowledge production, including breaches of consent, privacy, confidentiality, and respect. From this place of mindfulness, we're able to ensure ethical processes of knowledge stewardship, including obtaining informed consent from research participants, ensuring ethical citation practices, and upholding privacy and confidentiality standards. And finally, when adopting an intersectional lens into our knowledge stewardship process, we are essentially recognizing the importance of the following. Firstly, the interconnection between gender, race, class, and other categories of difference in our individual lives, social norms, institutional systems, cultural ideologies, and more. From there, we understand the relationship between these interconnections, especially with respects to the ways we navigate systemic power relations. From there, we see the ways in which equity-seeking groups especially are often the ones to face multiple and intersecting forms of structural discrimination, oppression, violence, and trauma. And so when we're proposing solutions to these structural issues, we understand that our proposals are meant to explore nuanced solutions as well. So to bring it full circle, we believe that knowledge, especially when leveraged mindfully, ethically, and consciously, and furthermore, when grounded in intersectionality, has the potential to create deep and lasting change, only when it is done together and with those most affected by its outcomes. So, how will my own knowledge stewardship be supported? Each resident is going to be provided with one-on-one mentorship by the working lead that corresponds with their priority group, as well as collective support by myself as the knowledge lead. Though support will be tailored to the residents' needs, examples of supports that can be offered are as follows: project planning and design, journey mapping, knowledge stewardship best practices, project feedback, literature reviews, creative wellness and inspiration check-ins, community principles and guidelines, and the list goes on. Moving on to part 4. What are we looking for? There are 4 basic eligibility criteria for the Together There residency, including location, identity, industry, and practice. First, participants must be 18 years of age or older and be residents and eligible to work in Canada for the entire duration of the residency. Emerging, mid-career, established, and elder professionals are encouraged to apply. Second, participants must self-identify as belonging to one or more of 4 priority groups, including Indigenous, racialized, disabled, or living in a suburban, rural, or remote community outside the core. Individuals from other equity-seeking groups, such as two-spirited LGBTQIA+, immigrants, women, and more, are also encouraged to apply. However, these other identities must be in addition to one of the 4 main priority groups, not instead of. For example, a queer woman who is white would not be eligible to apply, while a queer woman who is Black, Indigenous, disabled, or living outside the core would be eligible to apply. Third, eligible industries include the artistic, creative, and cultural industries, inclusive of all artistic and cultural occupations in the fine arts, applied design, motion pictures and broadcasting, journalism, film, galleries, libraries, museums, artist-run centers, and more. Fourth, eligible professions include artists, curators, designers, educators, managers, producers, entrepreneurs, and more. There is space for up to 8 participants. Extensive digital experience is not required, but we are seeking residents who are deeply invested in the cultivation of cross-movement solidarity between diverse groups within feminist and anti-oppression mindsets. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Jessa, who's going to close us out and call in our Q&A portion.
How about now? I think you should be able to, sorry, having some technical difficulties in the last segment of this session. You should all be able to hear me now. Thank you, Sonia. And thank you for everyone for your attention as we try to kind of give you a high level summary of the very detailed call that is available on the Together There website at togetherthere.ca. You can also find some information about Together There at the parent organization that is incubating this project, which is ArtsPond, at artspond.com. So we don't, as far as I can see on social media, have any questions in Facebook or on YouTube or in the Zoom profile yet. I don't see any questions yet, but I'm just going to take a look. We have one question coming in. If it is a residency of 8 participants, what is meant by priority groups? Thank you. That's a great question. So the priority groups mean the 4 identities that we are prioritizing in terms of eligible participants. So that is the racialized, Indigenous, disabled, and outside the core. We're not necessarily setting, oh, we must have 2 racialized, 2 disabled, 2 Indigenous, and 2 outside the core. It's more who applies and what will be a good mixture of people, both from where they live, what their perspectives are, what their hopes are for the residency, whether they are an artist or a manager or a producer. We're trying to manage and balance quite a few different perspectives, but ideally there would be 2 participants per each of the 4 priority groups for a total of 8. Just checking to see if we have other questions that might come up. There have been questions like, why did we choose those 4 priority groups? Why did we choose racialized, Indigenous, disabled, and outside the core, as opposed to women or queer or immigrants, recent immigrants or new immigrants? There's all kinds of priority groups. And I think my answer to that is we are invested in this topic for the long term. We see this, we're going to be seeking other funding for the next stage, future stages for this project. And we would like to grow and expand the number of participants and the scope of the equity seeking and equity deserving perspectives that are invited to participate. But for this first kind of experiment, because it's essentially a pilot project, it's the first time we've done this kind of residency on this particular topic, we thought it would be helpful to start with four groups. And those 4 groups are a big part of our strategic plan and a big part of our kind of priorities at the present moment. And so we invite and encourage intersectional identities. So people that are queer and disabled and live outside the core, and Black and racialized, like someone who has a real complexity or diversity of experiences, more than welcome to apply. And we would not ask you when you apply to choose one identity over the other. It's rather you as a human being and what your story is and what your desired journey is that is important to us. Just going to check and see if, would you like to add anything to that, Sonia? Just
For
going to
now,
check and see if there are any other questions got on the various profile platforms here.
For now, I also think it's important to include, I'm not sure if it was mentioned already, but I will reiterate that for folks who do belong to equity seeking groups, so again, for folks who are part of the Black, racialized, out of core and Indigenous working groups and any of the intersections as well, who are looking for particular support and guidance with their application process. We encourage you to get in touch with us. We want to be here. We are present to support you in any part of your application process. So whether that's meeting one-on-one online, whether that's corresponding via email to clarify any part of the process for you, know that we are here for any form of support that you may need.
That's great. And that's absolutely true. Thanks, Sonia. So I can just remind you of the emails. The general email for if you want to discuss with the curators is a residency at togetherthere.ca, and that'll automatically go to all the residency curators. If you have a general question, then hello at Together There is completely fine. If you're a person with a disability and you have some access needs, then there is care at Together There as an alternative email to meet with our disabled care team. I have another question coming in. I'll just read it now. I would consider myself a member of the queer community as an umbrella term, but I also have significant sensory processing issues amongst other mental health challenges, especially when using something like Zoom. Yeah, and then and as the follow-up is, am I qualified to apply? If you self-identify, so while queer is not one of the four priority groups, if you self-identify your sensory processing issues and mental health challenges as a disability, we don't require like a prognosis from a doctor to say you are disabled. It's more that you self-identify as a person with a disability. Then yes, absolutely, you are encouraged to apply, and you are eligible to do so. Sonia, may I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
I wonder how does the topic of digital justice resonate within your mind and body and where you're at this present moment? Like, what is there something you might like to share from a personal point of view about why this residency is important to you?
Yes, what a lush question. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
For me, I have been in the space of dreaming about digital futurism since the start of the pandemic, when I created Scarborough Mutual Aid, which is an entirely digital mutual aid resource and collective that operates out of Scarborough and is specifically geared toward empowering the material, financial, emotional, spiritual well-being of communities in Scarborough who we know were especially impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic on all levels. And so what I saw come about from that point up until now and beyond is so many of us across all kinds of fields and disciplines within Canada are really, and beyond actually in that way, are really questioning if digital technologies, infrastructure, platforms, tools are here to serve us, are here for our benefit, or are here to really keep us disembodied and out of our emotional, mental, spiritual health. And so from there, I was really grateful and fortunate to begin working with different thought residencies myself, where I've been in the continued process of endeavoring toward the question of the possibilities for digital justice to foster care, to foster embodiment, to foster ease, to foster connection amongst communities and fields and disciplines all throughout Canada. So for me, this is, yes, in many ways an emergent topic, as we've discussed, but I think there are so many of us who've been dreaming about worlds that are just, that are equitable, and that interweave us between different social justice spaces and activist fights. And so we're here to really create new worlds together and envision accordingly. And to me, this is very much a co-creation, co-building, and co-visioning process. So I'm very excited for folks who are being led with curiosity right now. As we've mentioned previously, you needn't be an expert in any of these fields. This is very much a heart-centered practice where we encourage folks who are merely coming into this with deep curiosity, with passion, and with ideas of any kind, so that we can support you in the process of bringing those ideas to life in whichever way feel pertinent and resonant with you. So that's what this project, this residency means to me. And I would love to know from you, Jessa, and in fact, if you feel called to end things off this way as well, unless we have more questions, what to you, beyond just your intentionality for Together There, what do you feel would be the most powerful way for us to bring Together There into the world? What is that kind of, although we have so many lasting impacts we hope for this project to have into the world and on the world, I'd love to know from you, as truly the person who is the reason why this is even possible for us, what do you hope for that lasting impact to be?
Yeah, thanks for the great question, and thanks for your very lush and beautiful answer to mine. I'm not sure I have a what is in my mind at the moment is kind of a picture of a library with a whole bunch of creative geeks hanging out and talking about this stuff after the residency, and making, or maybe in a cafe or in the park or in a community center or in a school or with their families over dinner, talking about, okay, what does a just and caring digital future actually look like, and what am I fighting for, or what am I advocating for, to take a less military point of view there. What am I advocating for? What's important to me in the present moment? And what am I going to be asking others to do? And how can I help them do those things? As arts workers, I think we can be incredibly helpful in bringing diverse communities together to think creatively in ways that they haven't necessarily done previously, and to connect with others and have pride and a sense of ownership over a collective vision of a positive future, using the language of and wisdom of artistic creativity. And so I hope that the 8 residents that will participate and the approximately 30 to 40 speakers that will be invited as a part of the international exchange that will follow it next year, I'm hoping that kind of community of people will, in their own local contexts and wherever they work or wherever they are engaged, to be a point of connection and inspiration for others to start thinking about this kind of emergent and complicated, but very, very lush and very, shall we say, high potential topic to really constructively make a positive impact on how we do things. Because digital has become, it's not just an intermediary between our communities and our real lives. It is now its own thing. And it has both positive and adverse impacts in every part of our world, in our real world, in our virtual worlds, and in the natural world. And if artists can somehow, this group of 48 or so approximately people, can come to some kind of understanding about what the art sector thinks is important, then perhaps a few years into the future, the artists will be invited to the table when big conversations are happening, like developing policies around intellectual property and payment of artists when material is live streamed, or looking at a digital justice policy and a framework for Canada. And that is a government driven thing. That the artists, the arts and culture community are not left out, but are actually invited, potentially even as leaders of these kinds of wider conversations. Because I so deeply believe that we have as an industry, as a sector, we have so much potential if we only had a little bit more comfort, safety, and trust outside of our community, with and outside our communities, to be able to have that opportunity and privilege to be able to spend time thinking about this and going deeper into it, rather than just worrying about trying to survive. So I guess if there was a legacy 10 years into the future, I hope that Together There will offer some tools and some inspiration for communities to create artwork or create policy frameworks or create events that engage the community through the arts to better develop a positive vision of a caring and just digital future. So 10 years from now, if we're commissioning artwork that's all about digital justice, performances and visual art and poems and media and software and games, and it's all exploring topics of digital justice, I think that would be a hugely positive legacy. So perhaps we will leave it at that. Thanks so much for attending this session, and apologies for the technical glitches. Thanks for kind of seeing your way through those to the end. And I wish you well for the rest of your evening. The next session is happening for deaf and disabled communities on October 12th at 6 p.m. Eastern. And then the following day, on October 13th, there is a session for Indigenous, Black, and other racialized people of color on October 13th at 6 p.m. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at any of the emails at Together There or at Arts Pond, and we're happy to set up a one-on-one meetup with you to try to help you figure out what this might mean and look like to you if you choose to apply and participate. So thank you very much, and until soon.